champion of the world.
My question is for Jon Jones. Jon, you're a freaking inspiration. I love you, man. But like Kanye West, it is hard to be your fan.
Jon Jones, who's in the UFC still, has never been beat.
I know.
This guy has beat everybody. And when you talk about real fighting, you know, when you talk about who the baddest man on the planet is, when you talk about that, the real definition of what that means, you throw two guys in a room and who comes out?
Yeah.
Okay? That's the baddest man on the planet. And it is hard to not say that Jon Jones is that guy right now.
I'll tell you who I would take. I would take Tyson before he went into prison, Mike Tyson. I thought for those
100%, but
for those 3
Tyson
years.
doesn't know the ground game. Tyson can't grapple. Tyson's hanging over here. His quote is on the wall over here. Nobody loves Mike Tyson more than I do, believe me. But when you talk about putting two guys in a room, who comes out? Jon Jones has the tools to beat everybody.
Sexual Chocolate Jones.
It was just a time for me to really evaluate what I thought about religion, and I've decided that I was going to stick with my religion and continue to believe that everything happens for a reason. And now today I look at it this way, you know, you have these 3 pro athletes and we're all happy with our lives, and then we have a sister who's in heaven watching it front row.
I honestly believe that I was born to fight. I really believe it in my whole heart, you know, and some people think that's silly. But I think a lot of great athletes, people who are really good at what they do, it's more than just what they can do in the gym. It's something that starts way before they're known in the arenas. It's something that it's like an internal belief. And I honestly have convinced myself that I'm not designed to lose.
Yeah, definitely. In 2000, the oldest of us all, my sister, passed away within a 2 years' time of figuring out she had brain cancer. And it was really tough for us. You know, we pretty much had to raise ourselves for those 2 years, you know, cooking our own meals and you know, even putting tubes on her nose to give her Ensure medications and things like that. It was a lot for us. It grew us up really fast, and it made us really just appreciate every day and every relationship that we have.
Jon Jones, with no exaggeration, is the greatest fighter of all time, an undefeated and undisputed champion of the UFC in 2 of the most stacked and dangerous weight classes, an absolute king of the sport, the guy who stands untouchable in comparison to every fighter on planet Earth, inimitable performer, the best current MMA representative, legendary athlete, unbreakable and hungry beast who was destined to carry the burden of being the best fighter regardless of weight classes. The youngest champion in UFC history and the oldest one right now. In terms of the sport, he is a true standard. Everyone who fought him in the octagon, from a beginner prospect to a seasoned veteran, looked average in front of Jon.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I have no way of putting it but to say it's an absolute blessing. You know, there's a lot of great fighters out there, a lot of guys who are much better than I am, and you know, for the fact, you know, that I have made this card is just, it's an awesome thing. I'm so excited about it. Honestly, the first memory of UFC was not really the UFC. It was that Pride video game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first exposure to mixed martial arts. I remember playing with the Wanderlei Silva character, and I thought he was just so vicious. And yeah, that was my first taste of what mixed martial arts was, and you know, now I'm extremely passionate about it, and I love it.
Do you meditate, Jon?
I used to meditate a lot. Now I'm more big into visualization.
When did you used to meditate?
Right around 2000, around 2010, 2011. I went through this huge spiritual thing where I became obsessed with the power of the mind, and I got into it deep, like really deep, just meditation, visualization, and just realizing how powerful our minds actually are, like how we really do paint our world with our thoughts and our level of self-belief. And so right around 2010, I just took myself to this different mental level.
What I remember most about UFC 100 was the pressure. I had just beaten Stephen Bonner the fight before, and I was officially like on the mat, and everyone was excited to see more out of me. And I remember just having too much pressure at so young in my career to follow up that Stephen Bonner performance. So I fought Jake O'Brien, and I just remember having a lot of pressure on me to fight the way I did against Bonner, against O'Brien. One of the things that meant most to me was proving to myself that I could out wrestle Jake, because Jake had wrestled Division I. He went to, I think, Purdue, and I was just a junior college kid. And I've always had a chip on my shoulder about the wrestling thing because I had to drop out of school. I never got to go D1, so anytime it was time for me to fight a better wrestler, you know, I just always felt like I had so much to prove. So that's where it really started. And sure enough, I out-wrestled Jake O'Brien. I stopped all his takedowns and ended up choking him out in a wrestling position. So those are the things I remember most, just the pressure, outperforming myself, and the pressure of out-wrestling a guy who did something I never got to do, which was, you know, compete at the highest level.
Guys, it's Jon Jones. We're here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it's time for us to go get some training in.
And so I walked into an MMA school with the mindset of being the best in the world, and having a baby in the way, I had a mindset of like, I can't fail. I got one option, and that's to be a very successful MMA fighter, or else it's being a janitor or doing something.
So I took myself from being very average-minded to actually believing that I was the shit, and believing that I could be the shit, and that I could be the GOAT and be the greatest and never lose. Into, like, I took myself to a different place mentally, and a lot of it came from mental practice and meditation and visualization, and just seeking knowledge from people who are strong believers, guys like Les Brown and Tony Robbins and guys like that. I just became really obsessed with just learning about the power of the mind. So I used to meditate. Now I just kind of, I have a lot of things that stuck with me, a lot of ways of believing that stuck with me, that just subconsciously I know who I am, what I'm capable of, and how I believe, and how powerful my mind actually is.
Being around their children, you know, being accountable for their children. My mom was a great leader. She could really take ordinary people and do extraordinary things. And I think that's an ability that I've taken from my mom.
And it makes her
an extraordinary person. So I've taken her leadership skills. My father is a man of great faith. He's a man who can take nothing and make something great out of it. He's a compassionate person who cares about others. And he's given his whole adult life to service as a pastor of a church. And even before being a pastor, he was a corrections officer with young men.
We all know your striking is somewhat unorthodox, so how exactly did you adopt this style? And what do you do to improve on your stand-up? John, I came up with my style of striking just by being very open-minded and accepting knowledge from wherever I can find it. When I first started off with Team Bomb Squad, we didn't have a striking coach, so I took it into my own hands to study footage on the computer, like YouTube videos, and some of the guys would find different websites and just go out to Barnes & Nobles and purchase different Muay Thai books. I just really took it into my own hands to be a real professional, attempting to know all I can know. I guess between reading karate books, Muay Thai books, and Kyokushin books, you just take all this different knowledge and you mix it all together, and there you go with an unorthodox stand-up game. Exactly like that. The great career of the best fighter of modernity began in a small garage in a form of a constant practice, experiment, workouts, and interaction with materials that were accessible on the web. Shortly speaking, everything was very simple and limited, but as history taught us, quite efficient.
Yeah, I think it's coming from those shitty backgrounds, man. Just coming from shitty backgrounds. You know what the other side of life is.
Yeah.
To try to escape it, you just got to keep moving forward. For all the people who never got to escape it, you know, you just got to keep moving forward. They never said it was going to be easy, but it's usually always worth it.
What was the original dream? Childhood dream, growing up, what did you imagine that you wanted to do with your life?
Originally, I think I wanted to be a porn star.
Bro, is this like...
No, I'm teasing you, but
No, I'm messing with you.
We gotta have to crack that. Let's start the OnlyFans. We get it popping.
I do pretty well, I bet. We both do pretty well.
You're probably that little. You might get some more clicks than me.
That's funny. That's funny. Originally, I wanted to be a law enforcement. I wanted to be a police officer. That's what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a person that helped out others. And in high school, I wasn't a very popular guy. And I remember some times in my life where I had very little friends, and I would sit and talk to this police officer for my lunch breaks.
Mm-hmm.
This dude would answer every question I had about just everything. He would answer every question, and he became my friend. And I started to idolize this guy a little bit, just for his being in a position of power and authority, but also being so kind.
It's very simple. Get comfortable with the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is he knocks you the out. He possibly fractures a bone in your face. That's the worst case scenario. You get real comfortable with that idea, and then it becomes easy. If he doesn't knock you out and break your face, you're smart, you're fast, you have a chin, you have great head movement. You know, you can wrestle. You can. There's a lot of ways things can play out. So I just think about the worst case scenario and get yourself mentally to a place where you're almost walking into that. Like, okay, I'm getting ready to go out there and this guy could possibly hurt me tonight. Okay, now that I've faced that, I've swallowed that, I'm sure you have the similar conversation before you jump off something. You're like, okay, this could go this way.
For sure.
So that's the way I look at it. It's like, yeah, Francis Ngannou is dangerous, yes. I believe that he has a chance to knock me the out. Let's say that out loud. But if I don't get knocked out, I believe I win that fight. I just gotta get through round 1, and I win that fight.
This mindset of like, I've heard you talk about teaching yourself self-belief.
Yeah.
Was it not something you were born with, but it was something that you had to change your mind of thinking that you could do anything?
Yeah, it was something that I had to teach myself. Right around age 19 years old, I just found myself just in a bad spot in life, and I joined the MMA school, and I found some talent in it, and I knew that I didn't want to just be an MMA fighter. I knew that I wanted to be the best in the world, but I wasn't the most confident young man, and so I hopped on YouTube, and I hopped on things like TED Talks, and I would just look up everything about being a person of faith, confidence, even things about charisma. You know, I would just study everything that I wasn't, and I put in hours and hours and hours. And I took lots of notes, and I just watched my world slowly start to change. My demeanor, my confidence level, and the things that I expected for myself, the things that I genuinely believed that I could be and I could do, started to happen. And year after year, my world started to become better and better.
There is nothing you can do to stop me from coming at you round after round with the most malicious techniques I know. You will lose this fight, Daniel Cormier. I want you to believe it. Every ounce of training you put in leading up to this fight will be a waste of your life.
God has just been showing me that he's real throughout the course of my life. Throughout the course of my life, with just little things, with the level of grit that he's allowed me to have, and perseverance, and positivity. And there's just been so many times where I've just felt his presence.
You feel more at peace? You feel more calm?
More at peace, you know, like not worried about social media all the time. Like that has brought a lot of peace to me. Not worried about what people are saying, not even worrying about what's going on in the UFC, like who has the belt or you know, just being Jonathan Jones and having my group of friends across the country who genuinely love me. Focusing on my kids every day, you know, taking my girls to cheerleading practice, picking them up from school, dropping them off at school. Basic stuff, like me and my fiance, you know.
Living life.
Being on top of stuff, being on top of stuff, you know, I'm in no debts, you know, everything's caught up, everything's spot on, you know, things I wanted to get fixed around the house, you know, that paint chip is painted now, you know, everything's just... Right. Everything's so put together right now in my life, outside of sports, and obviously having the clear mind, something that I haven't had in a long time. You know, I just feel really good right now. So, as far as, and then also being in a position where I don't really need to fight again either.
I just choose to be drawn closer to him no matter what happens. Like, I've lost my mom to diabetes. I lost my sister to cancer. And there's been times in my life where you just want to ask God why and even turn your back on God. But despite how hard things get for me, I've always drawn closer to him. Like, when things go wrong, I draw closer to him. When I've gotten arrested for certain things in my life, I draw closer to him. And I think that's how he shows me that he's real. It's just my ability to be so in love with him and still be here.
Man, I tell you what, I've been asking for a dogfight for a long time, and I finally got that dogfight I've been looking for. Tonight was a blessing in so many ways. Got the victory, and I got to prove a lot to myself. I'm not satisfied. I got to do a lot more work in the gym to stay on top of my game.
I came from almost nothing. Believing that you can be somebody was something that was taught to me. But once I learned that the difference between him and I was just between the ears, once I was equipped with that, I started to believe that the sky was truly the limit for me. And I'm still that person today. I joined the team not knowing anything about fighting. The first team I was on, everybody had been fighting for many years. And I was a young adult when I started. And then it was to be the best fighter in New York State. And then it was to be the best American fighter. And then it was to be to beat Chuck Liddell's record. And now, people consider me one of the greatest fighters who's ever lived. Considering Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. That's all great company. And, people consider me the #1 fighter who's ever lived. I would have never imagined it, but my belief is so high in me now that it's like, of course, that's how I feel now. Of course, I'm the best. I feel, of course, I can do more. And I don't say that in an arrogant way. I just know that I have the wisdom, I have the team, I have the faith in myself, I have the faith in God, and I've surrounded myself with a winning formula. So I'm very confident in this formula.
I also don't consider Daniel to be the biggest heavyweight or the biggest light heavyweight. I mean, come fight night, I think you'll see the size and the strength difference in us. So I train against heavyweights all the time. I tend to do pretty good. I'm very confident in my ability to compete at heavyweight. But my goals are all at light heavyweight division. I'm really trying to catch up to some of the greatest fighters of all time, guys like Anderson and GSP. And I feel as if winning as many championships as I can in the light heavyweight division is what I need to do to really solidify a magnificent legacy.
When you became champ, did it rock your world? Did it change? Did you feel the overnight change?
Yeah, it did rock my world. It was just so exciting at first. I remember it being so exciting, and just getting to travel the world, meet people, and to teach others. I had a lot of bad friends, a lot of, being invited to the party, the alcohol, the partying, and all that. I went down that loop. Had to learn how to prioritize friends, and just be in the right circles. And yeah, there was a lot of good that came from it, a lot of bad that came from it, but just a lot of life, man. It was a wild journey.
Right now, I'm in a position to do some magnificent and extraordinary things. I know that because I've made so many mistakes, I make the perfect role model. I make the perfect person to still be able to inspire millions of people. There's very few people who are perfect and flawless and just that clean-cut, never did anything wrong athlete. There's way more people who are like me, who have struggled with drugs or just being an idiot or just doing wild shit. Way more people who have let their parents down, let their families down, let their friends down, let themselves down. And because I've made so many mistakes on such a public, such a big scale and so public, I feel like all the great things that I do from here on out are going to be that much greater because of where I came from to do it. I feel like my best is yet to come, and I feel like I'm in a position to really touch a lot of people and inspire a lot of people because of where I came from. So I'm really excited.
Suicide, depression, mental health, things like that for us men, it's a real big thing, and I feel like people don't talk about it. And there's so many young men out there who has had these moments in their life where they feel like they just can't go on. They just feel like I've messed up so big this time. I've humiliated myself so big this time, where they just give up, you know. And I know being a face of such a manly sport, it's my obligation to show not just American men, but men around the world what grit looks like, what strength looks like, what not giving up looks like.
No, I really wasn't too worried about Chael Sonnen. You know, Chael Sonnen is a guy who, I think his MMA record right now is 6-5 or something like that, which is just over 500. You know, but at the same time, this is a sport where if you could possibly lose a game, you know, it's not like, you know, you got it outscored in the game of basketball, you know. This is a sport where if you're not prepared, you know, anything can happen. You know, we wear 4-ounce gloves, and, you know, anything can happen. So I like to give myself the best odds as the CEO of my brand to be successful. And that's, you know, having a proper training camp.
I think, well, I would say the mixture between speed and power, but, you know, Lyoto actually has speed and power. As you saw with this knockout over Ryan Bader, his last fight, man, that was a fast punch and it was very powerful. So I can't really say that he has that much that I haven't seen before. Lyoto was also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I fought in lots of black belts. Rampage was a great puncher. Vitor's a great puncher. Vitor punches a little more straight, but he has some hooks and a decent high kick. You know, I can't really say he has a skill set that I haven't seen before, but, you know, he's a different animal, different timing, different rhythm, different person. So, you know, it'll be a great challenge for sure.
I'm a guy who really prides myself in having great cardio and having, you know, solid game plans and really knowing what I'm getting into. And I went into that Dan Henderson fight 100% prepared to go through a grueling 5 rounds if it went that way. And having the fight canceled, you know, I definitely had to switch up a lot of different things that I was working, like angles and boxing and plans of attack and things like that. But one thing that's gotten to happen is where my body fat was already low and my cardio was already really good, giving myself a 4-week bonus of training time, I think has really pushed me to a different level in the martial artist that I am. So, you know, right now I feel faster than ever. I feel quicker than ever.
I see fighters that take losses and they smile and they hug their wives and they, you know, hey, better luck next time. If I were to ever lose, I would be devastated. I'd be angry and I'd be upset and depressed. And that's just my winning nature. For me, it's do it with all your heart, do it at the highest level, do it to the best of your ability, or don't do it at all.
Are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good?
That's a good question. I think I am a bad guy that's trying to be good. Just because religiously we're all sinners. We're all sinners. We're born into sin. It's our nature to sin. And it's a decision to try to do the right thing. You know, it's a decision to do the right thing when no one's looking, right? And so I think all of us as humans, none of us are and it's our choice to try to be more than. And so I had to say I lean closer to being an imperfect human that's trying to do the right things and be good.
I think I've developed that personality trait over time. I've felt so many times throughout my upbringing that it takes pure focus and discipline to get the things that you want out of life. And in high school and in middle school, I had terrible grades. I never did my homework. I would skip class. I was one of those young men, and it showed. You know, my brothers both went Division I. I was a junior college guy. Both my brothers graduated. I was a dropout. So I think I got to a point in my life where I had to really look myself in the mirror and realize that I'm responsible for how my life turns out. They say the way you're born is not your fault, but the way you die is your fault. So I've definitely trained myself that you can't take shortcuts as an adult and expect to have a great life.
You concentrate on more than you concentrate. I mean, do you concentrate on that as much as you concentrate on just doing it for yourself?
Doing it for other people motivates me
Probably more than doing it for myself.
Why is that? Is that from all of the accolades that you receive from all the fans?
Yeah,
and you just realize that you have all this love out there from all these people?
Yeah, I just feel like I don't need it. I don't need any more. I feel like I've done everything already. I've been in all the wildest situations already. I've had all the craziest experiences. Stayed at the nicest hotels. I've seen the world. I've ate at the nicest Like, there's nothing else that I really need out of this thing. I've literally been there and done that already. I feel like I just feel like ultimately I've already gotten so much out of the sport, and what I need to do is to truly get something. What I really need is to know that I'm changing lives. Like, that motivates me more than anything else right now. The story, the legacy, and so the reason why I put that laughing meme up is because I'm laughing at my pain and my struggles right now. I'm laughing at what I'm going through right now because I know my future is just so incredibly bright, and I know the impact that I have. I know what I can do and what I'm going to do. Like, right now I'm in a waiting period where I have to wait before I can show the world what I'm actually capable of, what I can be, and what I'm going to do for someone else one day. And it's also laughing at, like, people who actually think that I'm out, down and out. Like, people who actually think that my story is over. Or, you know, it's just like, I'm just laughing at it all because what I've done is, like, I've seen some athletes come back from way worse stuff. Rape charges and murder and attempted murder and, you know, all this type of crazy shit. You know, if anything I've done, I've partied too much, and I've done a lot of stupid stuff, like from being a party boy. You know, I know I'm not a bad person. I'm not like this evil athlete. You know,
I try to grab motivation from people outside of my field, because in the MMA space, I've become a member of a lot of people's Mount Everest, right? So in my own space, I try to be inspired by the people who are better than me in categories. For example, more of a humanitarian, or just a better class act, or gives back more, or you know, connects with his fans better. Like, there's fighters that do things better than I do. Like guys like Conor McGregor, you know, he's just so good on the mic, and just so I become inspired by my peers. I'm never jealous of anyone. I'm always inspired by my peers. How can I become closer to him in this category? And then in categories where I'm already the leader, I look outside of my profession. I look at military groups of truly hardworking people who aren't getting the credit that they deserve. I look at Tom Brady and LeBron Jameses and the Michael Phelps and the Michael Jordans, and I look at the great yourself being one of the leaders, in
I gotta
barber.
clip that for the rest of my life.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a barber that is taking what you're doing to such a platform.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So I look at my peers, and I try to take from what they're doing right.
Jon, I think, was 22, right? As he was when he won the title. 22, okay. Only been fighting the UFC for a short amount of time. Opens the fight with a flying knee on a legend.
Oh, yeah.
On a legend.
You gotta have some balls.
Just balls.
You gotta have some balls.
Here it is. Boom. I mean, that is so crazy to do. Opening seconds of the fight.
But at the same time, you don't have no fear of the takedown.
Well, he wasn't afraid of takedowns, and also he was very proficient at striking.
Fighting Stephen Bonner is definitely a win-win opportunity for me. You know, I'm a young guy in the sport.
Yeah, it definitely is. I've realized I've been blessed with a natural speed, and doing some research and reading different theories and styles of martial arts, I picked up practicing fast and, like, you know, just doing everything you do fast and not really focusing on being powerful. And I think it's making me actually faster. So yeah, the speed is something I realized that I've been blessed with, and I plan on executing in the future.
The potential to be an absolute battle, an all-out slugfest. But I'm looking to get in there and get out, get that first round knockout. Tonight it's just a big opportunity for me to shock the world. I want to show everyone what I can do and give them a devastating knockout.
Dan, who is the best in the world right now? Sidebar, pound for pound right now, who is the best fighter in the sport?
It would have to be Jon Jones. I mean, realistically, it's Jon Jones has never, if you look at all the people that he's fought, he's never lost a fight. It kills me that one is on his record, 26-1. You have to understand, for the people that don't know, this was during a time when the Nevada State Athletic Commission was very weak. And there was a referee in there that stopped the fight and called Jones the loser in that fight. A fight he was dominating and should have been finished. Instead of disqualifying Jones, they should have stopped the fight. And Jones right now really should be 27-0. I fought hard to try to get that one taken off his record, but I haven't been able to get it done. It's horrible. It's a referee that I said a million times should not even be in the octagon reffing.
The two things that I really enjoy outside of fighting that I feel helps my mentality, I love studying military groups, and I love studying the male lion.
I knew him before I stepped in here with him, so it was just hard work, a lot of dedication. I knew he'd be a step up in competition, and I trained to the point where I felt as if I won it before I got in here. I think that potential is the biggest thing to waste, and it's the worst thing to waste, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
And so I really love the male lion. I've watched hours of lions just like attacking things that's so much bigger than them, and through their persistence and grit, eventually they get that bull to the floor. And so I carry that same mentality. And then military groups, sometimes I get so exhausted training for another training camp, another world title. And sometimes my body hurts and I just feel over it. And then I remind myself that there's men and women out there that don't get the fame, don't get the paycheck, don't get the sponsorships, don't get massages in between workouts. They don't get Gatorade and ice cold water. They don't get any of that stuff. And they do what they do for their country with a lot of pride. And so that gives me the strength to fight one more day.
The reason why I think I'm talked about a lot is just my style. It's really exciting. I know that it's a spectator sport. I give them what they want to see and keep the crowd wild. My style is definitely really wild and random at times, but it's a planned attack. These moves have been trained several times. Brandon being a striker, I'm excited. We're both good strikers. Well, me and Brandon, we're both known to have really dynamic styles. Biggest differences between me and Brandon, I'm not going to win my first UFC fight and go calling out Chuck Liddell. I'm very humble, and I realize that there's a lot I need to work on. I'm just going to go out there and pull the trigger. If anything comes to me, I'm not going to hesitate to take it. So, just expect everything to happen.
I think Brandon's really full of himself. He said he's not impressed with my resume, and he said that I'm all hype. Well, after this fight, I hope he will be impressed with my resume, because his name's going to be on it.
You are a true champion, my friend, for even attempting to make this interview work while you're dealing with one of the nastiest foot injuries I've ever seen. Congratulations to you, sir. You are still the UFC light heavyweight champion and one of the baddest men on the planet. Jon Jones, ladies and gentlemen.
I fought against Alexander Gustafsson the first time, and at the time he was getting so much hype around him, and I looked at Alexander as being quite frankly, a white version of me. He was tall, he had a swagger, he had this great footwork, he had great boxing. I just felt like he's a lot like me. He has the same reach as me and everything, but I was like, he's not me. And that fight, I partied a lot leading into that fight. I studied a lot, I trained a lot, but I had this knowing that I was gonna win, and it was at an all-time high. And in that fight, things did not go the way I expected. I mean, I couldn't stop his jab. I hadn't prepared for a low jab. He was jabbing me to the stomach. I had never prepared for that. He was a lot more confident than I expected him to be. He was in my face, and he was a person who was expecting to win. And I had to pull from something that I didn't realize that I had. I had a tenacity and a resilience and a grit that I didn't realize that I had. It was the first time that I seen my mother crying over my bed. Backstage, they put me on morphine, and the morphine was making me shake profusely, and my lips were swollen. I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. I couldn't use the bathroom on my own. And that was one of the fights where I really realized how seriously I had to take each and every opponent, that I could never get too big for my britches. Because there's always somebody that's nipping at our toes, So that fight taught me a lot about the seriousness of preparation.
Ooh, How do you beat them? Well, it's a lot of ways, but you know, biggest thing for me is just to go out there and be free flowing. You know, to flow like a river and stand like a mountain when it's time, and just be myself. You know, try to continue being an unsolved puzzle, and I think that's something I have on my advantage. The fact that every one of my fights have been completely different. I think he's going to be really confused, and I think I'm going to use my unpredictability in the wrestling category, in the striking category, in the jiu-jitsu category, and every little small thing in between. So I'm excited. I'm very confident. I think that's half the battle. Really, truly believing that you're going to do this, and I'm excited. You know, I feel as if I'm undefeated as well, and I have a huge task. You know, fighting someone undefeated, it wakes you up in the morning, and it drives you to do that extra, and that's what it's done. So it's going to be great.
I look at other athletes who are withstanding the test of time, guys like LeBron, guys that just continues to keep going. I know that with modern day supplements and nutrition, recovery protocols and things like that, that is all just very possible to continue. I have this attitude. I had a coach that says, John, do it because you can. Because you can. You're the guy to do it. Who else to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I've always had that attitude. It's like winning one more championship. Who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? Like striving for this level of breaking records or greatness in our sport. Who else is going to do it? You know, so I feel like as you become ahead of the pack, it's now our mission to be the first to take this sport to a whole new stratosphere.
Wow.
And I kind of have that feeling now. But instead of being just a champion fighter, now my approach is be one of the leaders in business. You know, we have guys like Conor McGregor, who's clearly on a different atmosphere when it comes to business as a fighter. But to be the greatest MMA fighter who will transition into being a brilliant businessman, that would be a first. Because Conor was a great fighter, but to be the best fighter and to be an extraordinary businessman, I want to show these young fighters that you can get after it all, in the cage and in business.
I'm glad Jon Jones underestimated me. Yeah, he'd be very surprised come Saturday.
Garth, I thought it was funny you asked that question because I'm positive that I've never stated that Rampage doesn't have the tools to beat me. Never stated that in any of my interviews leading up to this fight. And I'm not underestimating Rampage at all. I mean, he's a unified champion who's knocked out some of the best fighters in the sport. That would be a very, very ignorant thing for me to do, to underestimate somebody with such a great record and such a great status.
Well, you know, Jon is he's very unique with a lot of stuff he does, but you know, and he's a great wrestler. But I fought great wrestlers, and his stand-up is okay. And I fought great stand-up guys. I fought a tall guy in K1 with longer reach than me, and Chuck Liddell had longer reach. And I don't really think his jiu-jitsu skills is extraordinary. So I'm ready for everything. You know, he's a creative kid, but I'm prepared for everything. So I just be happy to get in there Saturday and get ready for the fight.
I think a big part of getting knocked out, it comes more and more with the older guys in the sport. No offense to any of them, but you know, it's just the way the human brain works and the body works. At the accumulation of hits throughout your career, your ability to take punches start to go away slowly but surely. And I'm in the beginning of my career. You know, I'm a 24-year-old guy, still growing pubic hair, and and I think I have a very fresh.
Does life after fighting scare you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've had a very controversial career, and I've taken lots of breaks throughout my UFC career. Like to go from light heavyweight to heavyweight, I took off a solid 3 years. I just vacated my belt. No one asked me to do it, prompted me to do it. I just decided to do it. And so I have had a healthy amount of time being Jon Bones Jones in my adult life, but I also have had a healthy amount of time just being Jonathan, without the belt, without the fame, without the glitz. Even living in a community like this helps ground me and keeps me humble. So no, I'm not afraid of me being shit.
When you have butterflies and you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety or nervous, that's when you're most powerful, I believe. You know, every day I'm learning how to become a better athlete, and you know, It feels pretty much the same, you know. I feel as if I'm growing with the opportunity. When I was facing Andre Guzman, I didn't really have many tactics. I was new to MMA, let alone the UFC, and now I have a better grasp of what's going on, both when it comes to media, when it comes to competition, and everything. So I feel right at home. So I feel good. No, I don't feel overwhelmed. I'm a hard worker, and I've dedicated my life to this sport completely. So, when you work that hard and you do the right things, you have no reason to doubt yourself. So I feel as if I'm right where I deserve to be.
I feel great. This is the biggest opportunity in my life, and I'm definitely gonna execute the situation.
So who is Jon Jones without MMA?
So Jon Jones, without MMA, is Jonathan. I made it throughout high school and college without MMA. I was always a loving, kind person without MMA, and that's the person that I am at my core. I'm a person who gives a crap about other people. Want to see everybody do well. Want your friends to come up. Try to bring as many people up as I can. I'm trying to make as many people millionaires as I can in my time in life. I'm trying to introduce as many people to God as I can before my time is over. My kids are great kids at school. They're not bullies. They encourage other people. They're great teammates. I think they're going to turn out to be great college teammates and great wives one day. Great father, great lover, provider, protector. That's who I am outside of MMA. And a great friend. Any of my friends need anything, I'm a lifeline. I'll come and help you in any way I can. And that's who I am outside of MMA. I'm happy when I look in the mirror. I like the guy that I see.
It's awesome. The last time I was here, I had all these goals and admirations of becoming a champion. And now I'm here in the same building as one of the best champions. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Tito Ortiz for what he's done in the past. Paving the way for young guys like me to want to inspire to be like. Well, I won't say be like. Thank God. But Ty's record and everything. Tito's a great guy, and I respect him a lot. So hats off to Tito Ortiz for being such a great champion for me to follow.
I thought it was crazy that this guy was a 2.5 to 1 underdog. But what happened was Bones Jones went out and proved that the hype is real. He really is that good, that gifted, and that talented. And we have a new light heavyweight champion.
Do you feel any anxiety when you walk to the octagon anymore? Is there any other butterflies in the stomach? What's going through the head? What's going through your head?
Anxiety? My last 2 fights, I've felt really, really amazing. Against Cyril Gang, my first heavyweight fight, I walked into the arena and I saw all these megastars on the walls. You had Pink Floyd and Michael Jackson and Led Zeppelin and all these performers who have been in these arenas before I got there. And I remember walking through the arena and I looked around and I thought to myself, Jon, you're the youngest champion in UFC history. Meaning you've been in this predicament more than anybody else in the history of the sport. And I just felt like, man, Jon, you belong here. Who else? Who else is gonna do it?
Where I feel like my biggest advantage will be is my youth and versatility and the way that I approach the sport.
Yeah, it was really difficult to find training partners. I actually didn't find any training partners that can fight like Lyoto Machida, but most of my teammates can fight southpaw, and that was good enough for me. I really focus on my style. I think I'm pretty different, and that's what I focus on.
Are you scared to lose your title?
No, not at all, buddy. Not at all. It's a risk we take, but with every great risk, there's great reward.
Even my last fight against Stipe Miocic, I just felt, someone gave me a quote a long time ago. They said, walk into a room as if God sent you there. As you genuinely belong there, God sent you there. And when I'm at work with the UFC, I feel as if God sent me there. And that's the way I felt for a very long time. And it allows me to have a higher level of timing. My senses are higher when I'm at work. The belief is just through the roof. You gotta believe that you can do things before you can do it, and I just had belief, and I was, just trying to be a testament to people and to athletes and kids that, you gotta set your mind to goals, and that's the only way you can achieve them.
And I love distance, but I have the longer limbs, and I believe I'm just as fast. So if Leader wants to play the distance game with me, I think that's going to be awesome. As the guy pulls us up in his car, he's like, I'm in the passenger seat, Greg, Jackson, and Winklejohn's in the back seat. He's like, listen, guys, before I drop you off here, I want to let you know this is a pretty bad neighborhood, so you might want to be careful. And I'm like, dude, we're all MMA guys. And he's like, well, I'm just letting you know, a lot of people get mugged here. Just as he said that, I turned to pull off my seatbelt, and the guy, I see an old Spanish couple like screaming, and they're like running. They look like they're out of breath big time. And I'm like, dude, they just got mugged. And he's like, no. And I'm like, maybe not, I'm tripping. You just put that in my mind. So Mike Winklejohn hops out of the car, and he's like, you guys okay? And then she's like, the guy he just broke my window open, and he took all my stuff, and he's running. And he looks back, and he usually sees me, 6'4". You got Greg and Wink like behind us. Yeah, Greg and Wink's behind me, and I'm just running like, I'm gonna catch you, right? So the guy looks back, and then he trips over his own foot. And so at the time he tripped over his own foot, I got so scared because I didn't know what I was gonna do when I actually caught him. So I actually started barking like, I'm gonna get you, like,
I hired a Taekwondo coach about a half a year before the event, and three times a week for half of a year, we would meet up and we would do that one kick over and over and over again. So I've logged in hours doing one move, and sure enough, it's paid off.
The UFC wants to give you the opportunity to face Shogun Rua for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Let's do it!
I do, yeah. I do believe that fights are won and lost way before the actual night of the event, for sure. That was a Muhammad Ali quote. It's just saying like the championships are won on the road, not under the lights. And that is true. I do everything in my power to win. I try to hire as many people as I can. I'm not afraid to invest in myself. I'm not afraid to ask other people for help.
I'm a completely different fighter since the time he held me down in practice. It's just night and day. He's truly picking up a fight with my past. I think when he gets out there, he's gonna realize that there's different combinations, there's different size, strength, and there's a whole different kid out there that he's against.
I don't respect Jon as a person. I think Jon is fake just by even sitting here and saying that this is not gonna be personal. Of course this is personal. He wanna smash me as bad as I wanna smash him.
A lot of my mentors have been talking to me and say, Jon, don't let him get into your head. But the truth of the matter is, he is in my head, and I want him in my head. I like him in my head. That's when I train better. That's when I focus more. That's when I study his fights more.
And so right now, I'm just focusing on love, happiness, kindness. We're in the quarter century mark. And this year should be a really special year. So this year, I'm saying yes to more opportunities. Hence me being here, meeting you.
So grateful.
I'm glad that I'm doing this. I've been meeting so many great people. I'm saying yes to more opportunities. I'm traveling more. I'm consciously being kinder to people. And that's just the wave I'm on right now. It's just like love, kindness, and peace. Focusing on family and focusing on me.
I don't think I've ever said that I value the belt, but I definitely value being considered the best. And being considered the best is my passion. It's what I'm fighting for. It's what my life is about. And so having Rashad Evans as an opponent, it has nothing to do with wanting to be great and wanting to be the best. I'll have the same feeling in my next fight that I have right now. It's truly not personal with me. There's a lot of things that have been said that was personal, but when it comes to the actual game, it's still a game that we play, and it's another game. The pre-fight hype and all that, it has nothing to do with the game.
Like I dig into a person's personality. I dig into their tendencies, their psychology. I dig into how many kids they have. Like all that type of stuff. And when you're sitting across from your opponent and you tell them, oh, you started fighting when you were this old, and oh, you lost your coach back in this year, or you can't stick with one team, or you're left-handed, and when you flinch, your head goes to the left, and when you when you kick, it's primarily with your right leg, and you like to. And when you talk to an athlete like that, and he feels like this dude really knows everything about me, it's intimidating.
Advantage, I think my cardio will be a huge advantage. I haven't gotten tired, and in any of my fights except for the Stephan Bonner fight. So my cardio will be a big advantage, I think, and I think we're equal in speed, honestly, with hands and especially kicks. Very, very equal in speed. I think wrestling is going to be awesome to see. I've been working very extensively on wrestling, and I feel good. I think any advantage he may have, it could possibly be in the grappling department. I don't know. It used to be in the grappling department, but we'll have to see how far my improvements have taken me.
A lot of it was improv. The game was to actually stick to takedowns and to try to pick him apart from distance. But I realized mid-fight that he was winding up on his punches, and you can't really wind up when someone's right on top of you. So I switched the game plan up to go on extremely short range, and it worked out great.
Left.
What's ahead of me? Man, a whole lot of life. A whole lot of life. I feel excited about this world that I'm living in. I'm excited to just do things right, man. To just help out others, to be the best father that I can be, to be the best man that I can be to my family, to inspire as many people as I can, to show athletes that we're more than athletes, just in the way that we just be innovative and try to change the world in some way. Acting, that really brings me a lot of joy. I love it when I'm on set and a producer or whoever it may be just say that was absolutely perfect take. That makes me really excited. I love being the new guy, learning new things, so that's really it, man. Just trying to be the best businessman I can be. I'm trying to prove to myself that I can be great in more than one field. Like trying to be really good on camera with acting next, and just try to inspire others and help other UFC fighters. Some of the ways where I went wrong as far as just pay and endorsements and what to look out for, and as far as the leeches and things like that, just try to be a great mentor to some of these young guys that are coming up and make it to heaven.
I'm learning lessons every year, every month, every day. I feel like I'm growing as a person and as a man, but I know about some demons that I still struggle with, and I feel as if when I'm over those, I'll feel ready to be able to raise a man and teach a man how to be a proper man. In a way, I'm grateful because I get to recognize my mistakes. I get to assess what's made me, not necessarily the best role model. I get to, assess that and I get to alter that. And then I get an opportunity to go back into the game and do things better, become, a better role model and a better athlete. It's like I got to retire almost and like get back in the game still young enough, fresh enough to have some serious, have a serious future, serious longevity. So yeah, it's great to have this awakening, but still be in my physical prime to actually go back and do something about some of the things that I've let myself down on in the past.
The MMA debut of young Jon Jones took place on April the 12th of 2008. This date marked the beginning of the great fighter's legendary career. His opponent was Brad Bernard. The bout took place in Full Force Productions at the catchweight of 210 pounds. Things started off rather quickly. Bernard went for an attack and Jon, who relied on his wrestling background, immediately began to cut the distance and search for an opportunity to score a takedown. The young prospect got behind his opponent's back and started racking up control time at the fence. Soon, he began to utilize legs and attempted a submission.
Now he's got the rear naked choke. Can he make him tap? No. Yeah, he's got those long legs.
He couldn't finish the choke, but Bones did not stop on that and advanced to mount. A couple of shots were thrown and fighters started to switch positions again. Brad did everything he could to fight back and even managed to get back on his feet. At first, he pressed Jon to the fence, but ate a knee in the clinch and turned his back to the cage. Soon, the young guy doubled his pressure and began to throw whipping strikes. Bernard tried to slow the pace down, but eventually got tossed by Bones. In the end, it seemed like he figured that it's useless to resist such power combined with age and skills, so he didn't really try to hold on and accepted that he lost via
A little
TKO.
cocky behavior there, raising his hand a little too soon. And if he didn't have the intention of Bernard before, he has it now. Bernard is out. A first round.
And from Jones' standpoint, it was a perfect performance in the debut. Literally a week later, a ready and most importantly hungry for success prospect had his second professional bout. On April the 19th, he went up against a Brazilian with a record of 2-1, Carlos Eduardo. This time the fight was held at the local organization Battle Cage Extreme. Starting from this fight, Jon Jones picked the light heavyweight category. The action took off from the very first seconds. The Brazilian tightly grabbed his opponent's leg and did everything he could to take the fight to the ground. Already by that time, Bones' defensive skills were on a decent level, so he did everything he needed to stop the takedown. In one of the sequences, he attacked Carlos with a knee, but accidentally hit the groin. After the time of the break expired, the fighters exchanged kicks and Eduardo went for another takedown attempt. As you might guess, such a tactic did not lead to anything good. Jon effortlessly defended from another takedown and went in on aggressive offense himself. He confidently took on the role of a first number and began to throw strikes from every angle. A couple of precise strikes knocked Carlos down and significantly increased the chances of the doctor's stoppage.
Silva, with the way he, with his body,
Right,
and the way
he
he threw
strikes.
that knee. And Carlos has some blood coming out of him. I can't tell if that blood's coming out of his nose. It looks like he might have a cut above his right eye.
Yeah, he's hurt.
All of that looked so impressive that the commentators started to compare Jon with Anderson Silva. There was a little time left, so Jon couldn't finish the job in the first round. But the guy didn't stop on that. As soon as the bell rang, Bones continued to attack the Brazilian. He cut the distance with a quick Superman punch and pressed Eduardo to the fence. After which the prospect executed a takedown and began to pressure him from the stands.
Down there, I don't think. He wants the stand and bank. Eduardo's saying, "Let me up, stand up."
Soon, the referee intervened and allowed Carlos to get up. After that, Bones turned on his onslaught even more. The Brazilian didn't want to give up and tried to throw his opponent on the canvas, but a timely counterattack from Bones worked against himself.
Oh, and he was able to reverse it there with a throw, and now he's going to keep the pressure on. Good 2, 3, 4 good left hands. Little celebration we could probably do without there.
Eventually, the fight reached the end of the second round and the guys made it to the final one. In the last 3 minutes, it was all over rather quickly. After the very first exchange, Jon threw a right hook and smashed Carlos Eduardo.
Neither one of the guys. Oh, that's it. He's out. Oh, he's out, and he ate a left there too.
Jon Jones, big right hand.
Well, there it was.
The second stoppage victory in a row and by a stiff KO. The potential of a young fighter spoke for itself.
For Jon Jones!
Living his life a little bit, and I think when this whole heavyweight thing plays out, we'll see what works for him.
Thus, the MMA community lost Jon Jones for more than 3 years. For all that time, he did not leave social media, constantly posted training footage and current condition because he did not put his plans on moving up in cold storage. On the contrary, he did everything to naturally gain mass, get used to it and figure out what it feels to move like a heavyweight. The media community also regularly raised some questions about Bones' status as the UFC. Bones' decision to reject the fight with Chael Sonnen was criticized. In 19 years of the promotion's history, it was the first times when Bones was consistently making a walk to the octagon and superseded every fighter at their own game. The community began to raise an obvious question. What will happen?
As fans, they know how big of a challenge I have ahead of me. Me and my coaching staff, we know how big of a challenge Glover is going to be. He's a mean dude. He's a winner. I'm a winner. And we know how big of a challenge this could be.
You know, you hear people say, you don't lose, you learn. And I'm really grateful to have a win and such a learning experience. Dominic did a tremendous job. I respect him dearly. I respect him wholeheartedly. And what a way to put yourself in the history books. Doing it with such a hard-earned fight. Every fight's different. Some guys I look at, and some guys I don't. It's just all based on kind of my mood at the time. And some guys I want to let them know that, hey, I'm here. I'm taking you deadly seriously.